My neighbor has waved at me every morning for 3 years. I just found out he died in 2019. His name was Gerald, retired school teacher, widower. He had a garden he was unreasonably proud of, and a dog named Biscuit who died sometime before I moved in. I know all of this because my other neighbor, Pat, told me last Thursday while we were both checking our mail. She was telling me about Gerald fondly, the way people talk about someone they miss. Past tense throughout. I said, "Oh, I didn't realize Gerald had moved away." Pat looked at me the way people look at you when you've said something so wrong it takes a moment to process. "Honey," she said, "Gerald passed away 4 years ago. Heart attack, right there in that garden." I stood there with my mail in my hand and I said nothing because I did not know what to say. Because I had waved at Gerald that morning. 7:15, same as always. He was standing at the edge of his garden in that green cardigan he always wore. He raised his hand, I raised mine. I drove to work. Same as every morning for 3 years. I want to be precise about the timeline because I've gone over it so many times it feels worn smooth. I moved into this house in March 2021. Gerald's house is directly across the street, slightly to the left. The garden runs along the front, roses mostly, and something yellow I never learned the name of. The first morning I saw him, I thought, that's the kind of neighbor you want. He waved first. I waved back. After that, it was just something we did, the way you fall into small rituals with people who live close to you. I never spoke to him, not once. Our entire relationship was a raised hand across a quiet street at 7:15 every single weekday morning. Pat says Gerald died in October 2019, 18 months before I moved in. The rational explanations, which I have tried on like coats and found all of them wrong. A different neighbor I mistook for Gerald. Possible, except I have seen this man for 3 years. I know the green cardigan. I know the way he stands with one hand resting on the fence post. I know the particular economy of his wave, like he's conserving energy. A relative staying in the house? Gerald had no children. Pat has lived across from him for 20 years. The house has been empty since he died, maintained by an estate lawyer until it sells. No one has stayed there. No one has a key except the lawyer. I imagined it. I have driven to work 730 times from this house. I have waved 730 times. My husband Kyle has seen me wave. He assumed, as I did, that it was just the neighbor. Kyle, when I told him, went very quiet. Then he said, "I've waved at him too." We called the estate lawyer the next morning. A careful, measured man named Arthur, who I imagine has seen most things over the years. I told him what I told you. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said that the property had a security camera installed on the eaves. Gerald had put it up himself a few months before he died because someone had been taking plants from the garden at night. The camera was still active, still recording, motion triggered, uploading to a cloud account Arthur managed as part of the estate. He said he would check the footage from that morning and call me back. He called back in 40 minutes. He didn't say hello. He just said, "The camera triggered at 7:14 a.m. I can see your car in the driveway. I can see you walking to it. There is no one in the garden. There is no one on the lawn. There is no one at the fence. The street is empty. You stopped, you raised your hand, you held it up for about 3 seconds, and then you got in your car and drove away." I have watched the clip. Arthur sent it to me, and I have watched it 11 times. He's right. The garden is empty. The street is empty. The fence post has no one leaning on it. And I am standing at my car door with my hand raised at nothing. Except I wasn't waving at nothing. I was waving at Gerald. I saw him as clearly as I see my own hands right now. I don't know what I believe. I was raised practical. I have never had an experience I couldn't explain, and I have spent a week trying to explain this one. But here is the thing that keeps returning to me at 3 a.m. Gerald was a school teacher for 31 years. Pat told me that too. Said he was the kind of man who made a point of greeting every single student by name every single morning because he believed that being seen, truly seen, even briefly, was something every person needed. He did it his whole career. I think he's still doing doing it. I waved this morning. I don't know if I'll ever stop. It feels rude not to. For everyone asking about the house, it sold last month. Young couple. They moved in on Saturday. I watched them carry boxes in from my window. Sunday morning, I was leaving for a run at 7 a.m. I glanced across the street. The woman, I don't know her name yet, was standing at her front door with a coffee mug. She was waving at the garden, smiling.